Good morning and welcome to Monday Morning Messages. Just wanted to get started this morning in reference to lesson plans and the Google Drive. Certainly you've gotten information to make sure that you are uploading or sharing, should I say, with administration your lesson plans in Google Drive. And of course, we're utilizing the common lesson plan format that you guys have received several weeks ago. So that being said, we're looking certainly at, again, some very specifics with the lesson plan, and certainly wanting to make sure that, number one, your lesson plan is in fact current, but more importantly, that it really speaks to what it is that you're actually doing in the classroom and how you're going about using different pedagogy, different methodologies, and more importantly, how we're assessing what you're doing in an effort to make sure that the students are mastering the content. So to that end, when we talk about visible learning targets, everyone should have received on yesterday an email that was forwarded from me that really delves into what good learning targets look like. And so the reality is, hopefully if you have it on yesterday, hopefully on the over the next couple of days, that you really have an opportunity to look at what good visible learning targets are. When we go into your classroom, that's the very first thing we're looking for. And we've spoken to administration here, not only here, but also from the central office level, our coaches, etc. The moment that they walk into your classrooms, the first thing they're looking for, and we're looking for, is where are your learning targets? What are the students expected to learn from whatever assignment or whatever lesson that you're going over that particular day? And so therefore, if we walk in and we don't see clear, visible learning targets, then certainly we're indicating that through our observations. Check notes, if you will, or footnotes, if you will. But the most important thing is when we have that all-important feedback, and right now that's what we're doing. We're collecting data. We're collecting data, not just one time, but we're coming into your classrooms over the balance of 3 to 5 times. And then now, once I have the opportunity, Mr. Graham and of course, Ms. Woodruff, have the opportunity to sit down and collaborate and look and see. We're going to see some very similarities in what we are noticing in your classroom. And so it's not the excuse of, oh, you caught me one time. It's not a gotcha. It's what your it's your practices. What are you practicing every single day in that classroom? It's your norms. So if we begin to see out of 3 to 5 observations the same thing, then generally speaking, that's a characteristic of what you do in that classroom and what your students are doing or not doing. So the bottom line is, folks, we need to have some very clear learning targets, and our students have to know what it is that they're expected to gain from whatever lesson that or assignment that you're giving them. Moving fast forward to that end, definitions, we're wasting time. What I call fillers. When you give students worksheets and that's all they're basically are being held responsible for doing is just sitting at their desk independently and filling out a worksheet, or we're going to look up definitions. Folks, you're just filling time. You're not educating. You're filling time. Folks, time is of the essence. We do not have time, as I keep referencing time. We don't have time to monkey around. We do not have time to give fillers, and all we're going to do is sit back and be on our phones. And I've been polling kids. I've been asking them, what's going on in the classes? And they say, and they reported to me, that we have teachers that spend more time on their phone than they do actually instructing. And I'll be honest with you, if I see you on your phone, I'm going to say, hey, what do we got going on here? Why are we on our phones? And if your child or a loved one is not laid up in the hospital, then, we got some issues. Because you're not getting paid to be on your phones and searching whatever you're searching. You're getting paid to teach kids during instructional time. And that's what we expect. So to that end also, our students on cell phones, if they're not being used for instructional purposes, they don't need to be out. They do not need to be utilized. Period. End of discussion. Also, lunchroom supervision. Administrators have been catching kids all over the building, and we ask, where are you supposed to be? And they say the lunchroom. Folks, know where your kids are. I've just last week written about 4 or 5 kids up because they're not where they're supposed to be, and they were with you in the lunchroom. Make sure you have this conversation with your students that they are not to leave the lunchroom, that they are to be where they're supposed to be, being monitored. because obviously if they're not being monitored, then what are they? I mean, they're just simply roaming the building and getting into Lord knows what. Moving fast forward. Certainly the ASVAB this Wednesday, we have 41 students that have committed to taking the ASVAB. Certainly we want to make sure that those students are going to do well. If they come to you and said, hey, look, I'm taking the ASVAB. This, if you got a junior or senior course, this Wednesday, try your best to try to motivate them, inspire them. Of course, that's a part of our college career indicators, is students who successfully, have passed the ASVAB with a 30 or greater, but more importantly, they have committed to going into the military and serving. Also that same day, we're having JCAB. It is going to be silent, bells. So certainly you're going to have to adjust your watches and make sure that you're releasing kids in a timely fashion. Also, administrators are going to be meeting with you during your planning periods for Educate Alabama. Whether you're on my list, or if you're on Ms. Woodruff's list or Mr. Graham's list, we're going to be meeting with you this week during your planning periods in your room and trying to lock down your professional learning plan. And of course, you go to the self-assessment and you choose 2 or more where it'll read assigned to PLP. Once you've chosen that, then you have to click and open up, edit and open that, and then be able to fill out the respective information that really hones into what it is that you're going to be doing through the balance of the school year. And of course, we will be assisting and monitoring and helping you with that. Also, speaking of monitoring, I've been monitoring grades in iNow, and I've been sending emails, and I'm still continue to monitor grades in iNow. We need to make sure that our grades are current, that we have entered grades, because our parents are looking at certainly the same thing we're looking at, and they'll be the first to call or leave messages saying that teacher X or teacher such and such has not entered grades in 2 or 3 weeks. There's only 1 or 2 tests, summative assessments that's been given since August. Folks, that's a no-no. We've already outlined exactly what the expectations are from the central office level, and we expect that you adhere to that. So that being said, of course, the report cards go home on October 10th. So certainly that we're going to wrap this 9 weeks up, and it's been a very fast 9 weeks, and I can promise you that the next 9 weeks will go even faster. So we want to make sure that we're certainly doing our due diligence to stay in front of what we need to in terms of putting in grades in iNow and making sure that everything is current. Folks, I know I threw a lot at you real quick, but the reality is we have a lot going on, and we need to make sure that everybody is pushing and pulling in the same direction in an effort to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students and we're serving them in the way that we need to. That being said, please, as always, do not hesitate to contact administration if there are any problems that you may be having. If there's anything that's going on, rather than getting with a couple of colleagues and throwing a pity party or I'm upset party, get with the administration, come knock on our doors. And let's sit down and let's have a conversation versus, because we don't have time for negativity. We really do not. And if you're that negative person that you don't like what you're doing, you don't like the kids you're teaching, then certainly you probably know what the next step is. That being said, and I do not want to end this on a negative note. I tell you, I think there's 90-something% of our teachers every single day that come to this building and they work their rear ends off for our students, and you show love and you show compassion and you show hard work, and certainly our kids are the benefactors of all of that. So we greatly appreciate the job that you do. That being said, here at Pitson Valley High School, as we always will remember, this is our mission. To keep it in mind, our mission is to promote achievement, respect, and success. Thank you so much, and do have a productive week.